Should we start and maybe actually continue in the voice?
Yep, yep, I will. Yeah. Okay, I think I think then we can start. The recording is already rolling. So welcome everyone on today's Metal3 Community meeting. Today is 26th of November, 2025. My name is Adam Rosman and I will be your host today. Let me quickly check the participants list. I think we might have one new participant. If you would like to introduce yourself, feel free to do that. Don.
Uh, sure. Thanks. I'm Don Penny. I'm from Red Hat. Starting to work a bit more with our Metal Cube team. Hoping to do some contributions. Looking a lot of my work so far has been in testing and working with the firmware update parts of Metal Cube. So right now, I thought I'd join the Metal Cube community meeting and listen in for a while.
Okay, welcome. I hope you will find this meeting useful. Okay, then let me check quickly the chat. I see that there are some. Okay, the Tomo is just saying welcome. Okay, then let's continue with the reminders. Please remember that the meeting is recorded. It is recorded as soon as one person joins, and and the recording is ongoing as long as at least one person is in the meeting. Uh, if anyone would like to help the project with contributions, then please feel free to use this filter from the meeting notes or filter for the good first issue or help wanted labels. And if you are an experienced member of the MetaCube community, then please keep in mind that by creating good first issues, you will help the adoption of MetaCube. And thanks everyone who did that. Then if you are watching the recording and you feel that your organization would be okay with publicly disclosing that you are using MetaCube, then please do that via pushing a pull request into the community repository and editing the adopters.md file in the root of the repo. When you edit, please add another record and fill out the record the same way as the other organizations have done that before you, and that would help the project a lot. It would help us to gauge the level of adoption and the active users. If you feel that you have pushed pull request, but some of the tests are failing on your pull requests, but you think that that is not related to your change, or you feel that the test is unreliable, sometimes fails, sometimes passes, then please create a issue in the affected repository and then link that issue to the together with the MetaCube CI Tracker project. You will find it on the right side of the issue UI, just below this little projects tab. And by doing that, you would help the maintainers, the CI maintainers, figure out the problem a bit easier, or at least track the issue a bit easier. And if you think that it's a flake, then please put this flake tag before the title. Okay, if you are interested about any other deliverables, statistics, health status of the project, user guide, meeting recordings, roadmap, anything like that, please check this list of links in the reminder, below the reminder agenda point, or visit the main GitHub page of the project, and then you will find mostly the same links. Okay, last week we had the team meetup, so I don't think we have anything that we are bringing over from last week. There have been some topics, two to be specific, related to the E2E that we have not discussed. I have pinged Leonard, and he mentioned that if Adil joins, we could discuss that. How do you feel, Adil? Should we bring this to this meeting? At least one of the topics.
Yeah, sure. Which topic is?
From the MTM. A moment, I will open it. This is the one. So I just want to pick one because others have also agenda points for today, so I don't want to take up the whole meeting. And this was, where was it? Substate. We discussed the substate. Yeah, state of BMO E2E and the VBM CTL. And then Leonard mentioned that there was one that you were interested in.
Yes, I am interested in this VBM CTL. So
Okay.
we have an issue. Should we?
Yeah, I will copy it over and then, or should we discuss? Let's discuss this on this page. And then before we would do that, let me go through the working groups and the release team, and then as part of discussion topics, we can discuss that, if that's okay. Okay, so quickly, let's run through the working groups. I see, like Dimitri mentioned, that no news, and there will be some downstream work for you.
Yeah, we're a bit busy at this point. Probably will be busy next week as well.
Okay. Arm and AI, nothing. Artifact, I have one thing. Oh, I see. You are also improving the CI coverage for artifacts in Ironic.
Yeah, we're focusing on basically being able to make changes to the code more easily, and that requires some more or less solid CI support. So we are working on a project called Bifrost, which is basically a very simplistic environment to install Ironic, to switch it over to a local registry as a primary way of delivering images. That's details are probably not interesting for most of people here, just pointing out for completeness. That will give us a pretty good testing environment, and we can get back to many of the improvements we wanted to do.
Okay, that sounds nice. I have also one topic, and that is related to this IPA building that we discussed on the MTM, and that is related to artifact delivery. So I think this will be a good place to mention. So if you go here, I hope that it will be visible for everyone. It should not require any credentials. It's just very slow at the moment because folks are working on improving this Artifactory instance, or at least the caching and other stuff. Or just I have bad internet connection. Oh, something. Okay. Yeah. So this is what I was mentioning on the MTM. I thought it was broken, but I now noticed that it is not broken for a very long time now. I don't know when it got fixed. It had an issue with the credentials, but probably someone somewhere nudged something and it just kept working, and seems like our retention policy is working. So this is the format that we have IPAs in. And then you can see this is like standard ISO timestamp plus the commit hash, and then under staging and then the name of the base image. You can find them on like Artifactory, the Nordics Artifactory, so basically Open Infra Europe, and there the last 10 should be up to date. There are a few old here. We had an older policy handling pinning. These are old pinned IPAs. I will move them away. We have a separate place for pinned IPAs. I will just move them out from here, and we will always keep the latest 10. And then, yeah, feel free to check these out. Just these are in the regular tar format. The only difference compared to like upstream IPA builds is that this has a metadata file, and the metadata file has a bunch of like Metal3 component related info, that which CAPM3 it was tested with, which BMO, which IPAM, what ironic commit, what cert manager, all of this version info is packed into this one. And this also contains right now at the moment a Glean with a simple init, the user plugin, and a bunch of other plugins that are built into this one. But we can later discuss what to build. But I just thought I mention it because I am also working on improving the pipeline of this one. I will try to incorporate a lot of findings and learnings that we have found. And also this one, these builds don't have NVIDIA GPU drivers. That's one info, because if we include those, then it just grows to a much larger size. So it's actually quite a lot of drivers are removed.
Yeah, we do a similar thing upstream in API Builder. I think we need to synchronize all this, but we also remove a lot of stuff, including, I believe, NVIDIA.
Yep, that makes sense. And then just for sake of completeness, I will show, this is also public, the Nordics Jenkins. There is this Metal3 periodic here, and then this has the full stack building. It has some network problems recently, but it's not really that relevant in general. It's usually quite stable, but as I said, there are some infrastructure things way below this Jenkins, not really related to our pipelines or the Jenkins. So I will also add this link so that folks who are interested in what's being built into this one can take a look. I am not linking the code because I am modifying it, so it will be different by the time, maybe by next week. But yeah, in general, that's the info about the Metal3 IPA images. And yeah, it's tested with devenv right now. I plan to test it instead of devenv with the CAPM3 E2E, so that we have a bit more up-to-date tests for these IPA builds. But these full stack pipelines, they have two purpose. One is that you can, if you have the permissions, if you are a maintainer, then you can run these pipelines with a billion parameters. So it's basically like setting up a devenv locally, and then we have one for just like manual testing, and then the periodic one is mainly there to produce an IPA. So we have two of these available. Okay, but anyways, that's what we have right now, just to comment on the MTM discussion. Any questions?
A quick comment here. Maybe not CAPM3 end-to-end suite, maybe actually BMO end-to-end suite, because I think BMO deploys more variations of Ironic versus CAPM3, which just deploys more of, I don't know, 5 nodes. The same configuration, basically.
Yeah, that sounds fine. I can do that. I might even do both. It might be easier if I keep the dev just to be compatible with that too, and then I will add the BMO also. It might be the easiest. I will see.
Quick question as well. Like, would it be possible to have builds for other architectures for
Yeah.
this IPA image? Or
In theory, yes, but I'm just thinking that um oh no. I thought it is, but I can only emulate. In the current setup, I can only do like QEMU based emulation for other like ARM or stuff like that.
okay, because I know that's something we discussed when the for the IPA builds is also to have an ARM64 one. So
Yeah. That might be like I'm not saying it's not possible, but what's the situation right now is that the things that are running in this Jenkins, in the Nordics Jenkins, those have only x86 runners. If we would like ARM, then we can run the same pipeline and I can extend the script. That's fine, but then we would have to run it as a GitHub GitHub workflow, because the GitHub workflows that the project have, those have ARM runners, but I never tried them. But we have those, or the other option is that I can open a ticket with CNCF and ask. Actually, we have a ticket opened on CNCF side, so related to these resources, so we can ask if they can provide us something that can work as a Jenkins runner, and it is ARM. So I don't say it's not possible, but right now I cannot enable it.
okay, sure.
Yeah, and then I think that there was another push from upstream that you are moving IP to be based on Debian, right?
It's probably the case. I don't remember why we limited ARM to Debian, but I'm quite sure there was a reason for that.
Okay.
Which Ricardo that doesn't seem to be here. He probably remembers.
I will eventually look into building a Debian flavor to the storage is already set up with multiple images in mind, so you can see it's under CentOS 9 stream. We have old 8 stream also, so like the structure is suitable for storing different flavors and versions. So it's just a question of testing and adding everything to the pipeline. Okay, but I think I already took too much time. Please feel free to ping me, and of course I will also open the GitHub discussion thread, because this is, I know, a bit hidden and hard to track, even though it's publicly available, but still we don't really discuss this every day. Okay, so then release team. I think there were no news from the folks who are doing the releases, Adil, you mentioned that we have some CAPI version that has been released, some beta or something.
Yes, RC0 is released yesterday, so we will bump that and do the RC on our side. I think release team will do it. I'm just sending the message.
RC, which RC? RC
Zero. Zero, yes.
Zero. Yeah. Or the bot will do it. I remember. Discussion. Okay, there is nothing else from roadmap and the release team. Okay, so we can go with the discussion topics. I don't want to block the more urgent discussion topics. If we have time at the end, then I will bring in the VBMC. Do you have time, Adil? Can you stay until like for 20, 30 more minutes? Depend.
Yes, I will stay.
Okay, thanks. I will quickly copy this one over just to not forget this discussion topic from the MTM. Okay, so then we can start discussing this one, Dimitri.
Yeah, so we have here a batch. Let's focus on another team. They essentially work on a different provisioner. I won't go into way too many details, but as part of that, what they want to do is to mark a host as externally provisioned, and then do whatever the needful is for their provisioner to make sure this host actually comes up. And that actually works in BMO, except for our webhook has been historically blocking changing the external provision field because it was not tested. So they're adding a test and even an end-to-end test and enabling this. So Kashif and Adam have concern of how this alternative provisioners operate in the presence of CAPM3. And it feels like we're going circles a bit on this. So maybe if you could reiterate what your concerns are and how it is different from the different scenario, which kind of for me is the same scenario of just CAPM3 and something that is not CAPM3, but also a provisioner.
Yep. So so first of all, for just like the whole audience, we don't have a problem with the use case, and we don't have a problem allowing the externally provisioned to be set to true. This is a spec field on an available host. And it is, we understand the use case also. And it would be beneficial, I think, for the community. What we have problem with, I don't even know which one to show, maybe this one, is that in this scenario where there is a CAPM3 and this custom controller bot reconciling BMH, and then we want CAPM3 to not pick the BMH, that's not our problem. We are fine with that. The custom controller, as you explained also, can put a consumer ref or even already users can register maybe this BMH with consumer ref or owner reference. So you can protect this BMH from a CAPM3 or from multiple controllers by just having consumer ref or owner reference or any of these on it. We don't worry about that one. I think that's already doable. That can be controlled already on the user side. But what we have a concern with, if this feature, like the ability to set the external provisioned into true state when the BMH is in available state, if we allow this in a regular, normal, single CAPM3 environment, then in this current form, there could be an edge case, which is not hard to induce, because this BMH will before the CAPM3 would pick it up, it has no any sort of differentiating metadata on it, unless someone configures the host label, the host selector in the machine template to look for a label that is not on those BMHs that would change their externally provisioned state in the future. So the thing is that you can protect in both scenarios against picking up these BMHs, but in the regular scenario, if you don't, first of all, you would use up your host selector for protecting from this edge case. But even if, let's say, you are okay with that, if you configure the thing correctly and you accidentally pick this up, you very easily open basically an unhandled state for CAPM3, because you pick up an externally provisioned BMH and then automatically start doing operations on it. And we don't have a state or a behavior for that. So that will just go something will happen. We don't even know what will happen. So we would just like to protect the regular CAPM3 use case from picking those BMHs where we plan to set this externally provisioned to true in an available state. So after an inspection. And then in my opinion, that's simple to do, because as I explained, if you put there a label and then you make this this condition, basically the same condition that has been edited already in this test. So you just look for a label to allow the BMH to do the transition for this external provisioned value. Like where is it? Here? There are the conditions here. So if we would check an extra label to allow this transition, that would be fine, because CAPM3 could check the same label, and then we would, like on both sides, on BMO side and on CAPM3 side, we would be sure that this won't be picked, and we also not used up our host selector for protecting from a built-in problem.
So first, labels are not API, so we don't need a label, we need an API field. We're already abusing labels terribly in this. Labels are things for filtering nodes, not really for like allowing state transitions. Second, you're essentially trying to protect the user from doing stupid things. Should we also protect users from trying to reinspect a node? Do we need a new label for allowing reinspecting, for example, following your logic? Do we need new labels for any other state transitions to allow them?
But what I'm saying is, I don't care if they like detonate their whole cluster. My problem is that if this feature stays in this form, the problem is not that the user can mess up. You can mess up still with all our, like even if you do everything okay, you can very easily get into a stuck state or in between two states. But what I explained is that if you pick such a BMH that we are talking about, you are not, the problem is not that you won't be able to properly provision. The problem is that the state you will end up in is completely unhandled. Like we don't know what that state is. That state doesn't exist. That is like trying to provision a provisioned node, basically.
So
that's my problem.
So it just can be fixed in CAPM3, right? So because, oh, I picked a node and it's the wrong state. Similar to how it made up being inspecting, because we have a feature of reinspection. So you can pick an available host and then find that it's being an inspecting state on the next reconciliation. Right? You're talking about a CAPM3 bug that it does not account for unusual state transitions. Which I believe we also in BMO don't account for many ironic transitions, and sometimes they bite us in the ass. But I just really uneasy about introducing labels as part of required magical API to make features work. They're purely discoverable. For us, it's just in essence, we don't have CAPM3 in these deployments. We just have to apply magical things. And basically, all thing it protects for is users doing stupid things to mess up CAPM3. Because it still is a stupid thing to mess up CAPM3. And I'm not sure how it's different from, I don't know, changing user data to something stupid or removing BMC credentials on fly. We don't have labels for all of this.
Okay, I'm fine doing spec or annotation. I'm even fine with the spec field, the new spec field. I don't know, spec field saying that this is a volatile BMH or something like that. That's fine also. I'm okay with that. But if it would be a spec field, would you be okay with it?
I still don't, like a spec field, please allow me to do stupid things. Like you're literally asking for this. What's the API sense of this?
Okay, I understand that. Yeah, from that part, I understand, or for about that part that we would like to protect the CAPM3 states. That's true, but this one, and that's also true that we could not figure out what state we are in because it would be probably provisioning. It would say provisioning. Who knows? It might even reprovision the node. That could happen also. But then, why would we, if it's relatively easy to protect against, and it is from development perspective an expected, like not vulnerability but cause of instability, then wouldn't we be better off if we protect against it? Because you mentioned messing up a user data, or I cannot that loading up a faulty image or something like that. These are things that we let the users do because these are customizations user can do and the user can mess up. I don't see that we should protect against the user providing incorrect metadata or incorrect images or any of these things. But this not I want to call it vulnerability, but like source of instability. This we would build it in to the BMH so that the CAPM3 host selection has like a known like chance of going sideways easily, and we can relatively easily fix it in my opinion, because host selection is done completely automatically other than you provide a label. As again, I'm just saying that label, I don't want a label for this feature, but just like host selection is done by just giving a label and everything happens automatically. So far, until now, there was no real possibility to mess this up. In worst case scenario, you didn't have a host and you were waiting for a host. That was the worst that could happen. I don't see why would we present the CAPM3 with a situation where there could be even wilder environments to work with.
So my problem is in API additions is we create a confusing thing for a use case that literally doesn't exist, and we force users to do that. And now I'm going to tell users to do. You must put a label. Please, CAPM3, please don't use it. Yes, even if you don't use CAPM3, yes, I understand. We just introduced a magical thing. Here's your decoder ring, as my friend Jay Faulkner from our running team usually says. We are just making an API harder to use for the case that literally doesn't exist. Like nobody's going to do what we're discussing. And if that's actually we worry about people just changing random fields, I think we need to make CAPM3 much more robust. Basically, make CAPM3 do a reasonable thing if a large list of expectations do not hold for the host. And just one of them is not having externally provisioned being true at any point of deployment. But that's not the only thing. Like you need to basically enforce other, like you still have BMC credentials, you're not an operational status error, and many, many other things. This thing is not undergoing servicing and stuff like this. I mean, I can't tell people to just add a label. We are making worse API for the sake of a case that doesn't exist, and that's what makes me freak out so much.
Okay, I'm fine not doing label. I'm fine not doing label. As I said, I'm fine with the spec field, but okay, I understand that this is like an addition, would be an addition on top of like we are introducing one spec to allow the modification of another spec. I understand that, but how the host selection happens in like sequentially is that if there are these nodes that are in available state and yet we have not set their external provision to true yet, we are before that transition, then the CapM3 has no knowledge that this one could transition. Like it picks available nodes. It only knows that I should look for something available that is not claimed by anyone. I will pick that one. And it has the host selector as one protection, but maybe we can look into one thing. Maybe we can check if we can have on CapM3 side multiple labels that we can use for the host selector, and then maybe we could get away with that because then you wouldn't use up one label for just protecting against this functionality or this built-in weakness. But it's basically that's all. That's all we have, and then we have to tell the user that if you want to use that BMH feature, you have to label protect the against picking those BMHs, and you have to do it with your host selector. And if we can do multiple labels for a host selector, like in some logic, then we might get away with it. But that also looks weird on the CapM3 side, that we have to say that within our own project we have another component, and so far it has been automatically handled that what you can pick and not pick, but now we built in an extra step for you. That's the same thing. That's the same problem on CapM3 side. That it's not, if we let this in BMO, okay, then it's easier in BMO, but it's harder in CapM3.
Yeah, but CapM3 has to fix the situation. What if a user disables webhooks, which is basically what the folks are currently doing to work around this problem, right? And you still get external provision equals true. You cannot even expect webhooks to be running. But why cannot we do roughly this? So we pick the machine, all right. We put consumer ref and whatever the other side of it is on the machine, all right. Then we find the parameter host is externally provisioned all of a sudden, or inspecting, or in some stupid state. We just either report that machine is failing. I don't know if it's a thing, but just bear with me for a second. Or we say, okay, we cannot use that anymore. We'll log an empty angry message, create an event, and we just reschedule to another machine, another host. So we drop the reference, say, okay, that didn't work out for some reason. Because that would protect against many things. That would protect against people doing stupid things that don't involve this particular patch. For example, like people started doing their own provisioning without putting consumer reference, for example. Right? So basically, at every time where we go from a machine to the bare metal host, we say, okay, we found a bare metal host. Now, does this host make sense? Like, does it match what is in machine? Does the state make any sense? do we still have BMC credentials, or it's unmanageable at this point, right? Do we have some operational fault? Does it have external provisions we should not be having? I think we still need to have that in CAPM3, regardless of what we end up doing with BMO. Because otherwise you are, as you say, you are not robust. A user can, or a conflicting provisioner, or just something stupid can happen, and CAPM3 is now in an unreconcilable state because it tries to use a host it cannot use anymore.
Just a quick question, because I may have missed something. Don't when it selects the node initially, doesn't CAPM3 already check that it's a viable node, like that it is an available node, that it is a node that is suitable to be provisioned?
Yep. So it does check that and what, for example, among other things, it checks if it's available and if it's not in externally provisioned state, because that's already provisioned. That's has been claimed by some other process, that has been claimed by another management system. What this feature introduces is that even when it's in available state and all these checks are complete, all these checks pass, after that, the CAPM3 claimed it, this can go into externally provisioned, which would break the original conditions that it just passed. And that's what we are trying to sort out.
And the CAPM3 controller, it does add to the resource something to tell, I am now owning this resource, so probably another reference or consumer reference. Couldn't we just have in the webhook, instead of just saying if it's available, we can switch externally provisioned, say if it's available and not already owned by CAPM3?
That was my initial, well, not initial, but that was my proposal. But Adam is worrying about users just setting things without populating consumer ref. Which, again, I'm not convinced it's a real case. And even if it is, like, maybe just document people don't do stupid things to your hosts. But I also think if we're worried about CAPM3 robustness, we should, in addition to external provision, account for quite a few things that can happen with the host without us. After we already vetted it, after we verified it's a valid host, there are many things can happen. BMC can lose its connection. A user can request inspection for some reason. Operational status can change from OK to something else.
On these kind of things, I'm kind of inclined to have the same kind of behavior that the Kubernetes scheduler has. That is, once the node is chosen, it won't be rescheduling the pod unless something external happens, like something that forces a rescheduling. So I think we should probably have the same kind of behavior. That is, unless we have something else forcing a rescheduling, then we just continue with that one. And if you did stupid things with it, then it's your problem.
Yeah, what I was afraid of is not really that after, like, do I allow that someone turns this feature on, or like turns the external provision to true after it has been picked? Because I think if this was intended for external provisioning, then we already broke that workflow. We snatched an externally provisioned node. But I see what is like kind of the idea that we should do checking during the reconciliations when we are doing other stuff to see if the machine still meets this sort of host selection, or the BMH still meets the host selection criteria, and then somehow error out or do some fallback if it suddenly changes. Okay, we have to see if that's an acceptable additional complexity, like is it maintainable complexity, or if we are better off with that thing that we just maybe look into that multiple of these labels we can look from CAPM3 side, so that we would give the ability for the user that if you plan to use this BMHs like this with CAPM3, then you can protect them with like an additional label, so that you have your regular host selection labels when you group them into, I don't know, availability groups or who knows what people are using those labels for, and then there is another that you can also use. But then we can do it on CAPM3 host selection side. But okay, I see that I'm fine with this one also, this checking during the reconciliation over and over if we are still using an acceptable BMH.
I'm happy to work on a patch for that. If the time is concerned, I could use some experience with CAPM3 code base anyway.
Yep, I'm fine either way. I don't know if there is like, certainly there is no time pressure from our side for this. But I think what we would need at least is at least an issue that would explain this problem and why we would need then the change on the CAPM3 side, so that we can track it and someone, if it's you, if Dimitri, you want to do it, then you can do it. If someone else, then someone else. But yeah, okay, I'm not against that then, but we have to check first if it's a reasonable thing to do, because adding things to reconciliation in CAPM3, there are already a billion things that we are doing at the billion states and use cases and whatnot. So we have to check. Adil, you are still here. What do you think about this? Do you think this like, what's your first impression of this?
I think there will be quite some changes that needed to be done if we start checking like each stage, if that BMH has this externally provisioned true or false. But yeah, if Dimitri wants to work on it, we can see. I'm still in favor of adding extra spec field, um, and maybe use that instead of using externally provisioned. But yeah, it depends. Like what? Let's see. Let's open an issue and we can have like further discussion there.
Another problem with extra field or extra label is that we have the same race, right? What if we pick the host before a user puts this label or this field?
No, there's the extra field, but what I suggested was like that extra spec field, you can set it like right in the start when you create BMH, and then the inspection will happen in the PMO and everything. It's not going to be blocked by the webhooks or anything. Right now that is blocked because of the external provision, right?
Right, but you're assuming a user will do the same thing. If a user does the same thing, we don't have this discussion. We are basically discussing a case a user set up things in a way that CAPM3 conflicts with another workflow. In this case, I cannot rely on users to do the same thing. They may just as well put this label too late. Unless we also start enforcing when this, we cannot do it with a label, then we need to start enforcing where this field is set. And we're basically now introducing something like can be externally provisioned, and it's a pretty terrible API. But in our case, the separation between machine API and this feature is namespaces. They literally work with different namespaces.
Yeah, okay. If we are going that way, then okay, let's see. I will check the code on the CAPM3 side when you open up here. Let's see. It will be quite some changes, I think, in the reconciliation.
Yeah, but first, do you know, Adil? I never checked. Do you know from top of your head that if we can use multiple host selection labels or some logic between them, because that might be simpler if we just if we say that, okay, we don't recheck anything, we leave completely this to the user, but then we give the ability to ignore these BMHs.
I need to check that.
Because if we
yeah.
because if we have just one label, we cannot, then that kind of is problematic, because then we used up our label and we cannot do the actual like resource-based selection or whatever is our like modus operandi. But if we cannot multiple, then that's the easiest to then ignore these things, and then we would just document that. Okay, if you are trying to do these sort of things like enabling external provisioned in available, and then probably we would have in the future other of these advanced things, then use multiple labels or keep in mind that you have to ignore that host.
Yeah, I will check this. Probably possible. This is also.
So basically thinking about node selector and node anti-selector sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Or yeah, as some sort of logical combination of selectors that would allow building these Venn diagrams of these are acceptable, these are not acceptable, compared to what we do right now is we just select from this one pool.
Yeah, I can imagine people having use cases for that, by the way. Like when you have a large number of hosts, but you need to ignore a small subset of them. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, that is possible. I think I will check CapM3 code also. Yeah, we will need some changes, but I think, yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, yeah, I think we have a way forward. Let's hope we can. I hope we can do it with the selectors, and then this is relatively not an issue anymore. Let's hope. Okay, let's continue unless there are other questions for this. Okay, if not, then Tuomo, you have a few PRs.
Yeah, yeah. So as discussed a couple of weeks ago, I started doing the Copilot instructions thing, and after looking into it, and especially trying to support also Claude without creating like a bunch of different files for different agents, it seems that both Copilot and the Claude support the agents MD, so we can go with that. And currently, the state of Copilot is that at least the Copilot CLI actually fails to read this file if Copilot instructions file exists. So for that reason, I have also removed this symlink fallback, which I had, well, not last time, but earlier in some of the repos. That was quite debugging journey why these were ignored. But yeah, these are quite massive files, but I have now completed the first or the key repos, CapM3, IPAM, BMO, IRSO. So please take a look, and if we deem these are fine, then the minor repos will follow the same formatting. So I'm not in a massive hurry with this, so test with your favorite AI assistant that it actually supports and reads it, because for example Copilot, there's plenty of issues that sometimes depending on the model it just reads like first 10 lines instead of the whole document, or like mentioned, if multiple files exist it just picks one of them and not actually merges them all, stuff like this. So have a go, and of course look at the actual content as well. Let me know if you want some additions, something or something like that. I've tried to keep them as maintenance free as possible, removing like version numbers and lists that might evolve and stuff like this. So yeah, give them a look when you have time. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone who has any questions for this? Okay. If not, then Nicholas, you have one for the MTM, related to the MTM.
Yeah, basically a subject I forgot to add to the MTM, so I was asking. I believe we should try to drop the IPA insecure flag that we have set, so that we actually check the certificate when we connect to Ironic from the IPA. So I was wondering whether it would be best then to have this discussion here in, well, probably another weekly meeting, considering the time frame, but or if it would be better to have a GitHub discussion or something about this kind of thing.
IPA insecure flag, is that the one where Ironic and IPA does the self-signed certificate negotiation between each other?
When the IPA contacts the Ironic to do this exchange, it actually, with the IPA insecure, it actually don't check the certificate of the Ironic server.
Oh yeah.
So that's this one.
Oh yeah. But that would need
need to inject the certificate authority into the IPA.
Yeah.
That's something we do in our SUSE flavor. Basically, we do that by having creating a CPIO archive with just the certificates and appending it to the RMFS for the IPA. This way, we just chain them and have the certificate there. But maybe there are other ways or things that may be done differently. So I was wondering whether we could do that and have a proper API in maybe ERSO as well to do this kind of thing.
I would be interested to see this appending thingy.
Yes, the appending is used for us because we use ZSTD compression for the RunFS. So you can just append another ZSTD compressed CPIO, and the kernel will figure it out and merge the two of them. So, but yeah, I can link this.
Yep, yeah, please do. If okay, yeah. Just please link it. I'm just interested, but we can do it. That would, but then you mean to do this when we test, or that this would be the default behavior in the Ironic image?
I think it should be something that can be done if there are certificates available, or well, certificates authority available, and maybe something we could do by default in ESO because we also generate the certificates there. So,
okay,
so everything is available there.
Yeah, sounds interesting. I'm fine. It sounds fine for me. Like,
the feature designed for this was essentially pre-provisioning image controller. So some piece of Go code that modifies pre-provisioning images, which are IPA RAM disks. to match the deployment. Currently, we ship a controller that does basically nothing. Maybe we could have a new controller, maybe as an optional feature that takes some predefined TLS settings and injects them. It's a good question if it should be in BMO or in IRSO, indeed. I guess it's going to be pretty weird if IRSO is reconciles something that belongs to BMO, but you could argue either way. I think we need a proper discussion of this. It's really a thing that could justify another meetup, to be honest, but at least a lot of text.
Yeah, I put a link to the where we do it currently. We do it in the IPA downloader currently. So this is where we found it easier to do. But you can see that we in that IPA downloader we actually embeds the image in it because it's easier for us to build the image as parts to not have to download the image. But this is another story. But at the end, we have these certificates getting injected in the IPA downloader image, and if they are there, then we just merge them to the into the DCPIO.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, but then you have the okay.
That's not
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I could see a pass upstream for this code, to be honest. And maybe you could support it in IRSO as well, because IRSO does know the certificate.
Yeah, the only I would say downside is we can do this because of the fact that it's ZSTD compressed. You cannot do this with gzip or similar. So here I just or exe. So here, for example, you see above like line 78, I recompress the initram if it comes from an URL. That may, well, I know that it's also conflicting with the something in Ironic, so I need to always turn off the ZSTD decompression in Ironic, otherwise it tries to decompress the CPIO. But that's another story.
That's probably OCI code. Again, please report this to Ironix Launchpad with your findings. I have a suspicion where it's coming from. Are you sure about the stream part though? Because I think we in OpenShift we also concatenate initram FSs and we just do it stupidly. Maybe.
Usually you can concatenate them if they are not compressed or if they are compressed with something where you can concatenate them and it's still a valid file. Otherwise, you need to specify them as multiple initram FS in the command line, if I remember correctly. I'm sure there are other compression algorithms that allow that, but I know that ZSTD is pretty fine with that.
Right, so worst case scenario, we recompress this thing, right? If we get gzip as input, that's going to be a bit longer for IP download. It's already stupidly long. So as long as we fix this ironic issue, we are probably fine. And then when we start publishing our own IP images to key.io, we just choose the compression we want.
Yeah, I can already prepare the Metal3 pipeline to do the STD. I have to check if the dip has a flag for that or some option. If not, I can do it separately, recompress it.
There are options for compression type. I don't know if it supports the STD, but there are definitely different options for that.
Yeah. I know in like the CPIO and then these tools there are like a billion compressions. I don't even know which one I checked last time, but maybe it was some Drakut related stuff. Not sure. Yeah. But yeah, I will check dib. We can do the STD, I'm sure. Somehow I will do it in the pipeline. So this is a yes. Yeah, we can do this.
Yeah, so I was thinking about doing this as a more broad discussion because of, well, I did it in the IPA downloader, but it may also be better living in the in other parts, like maybe ironic images or ESO or whatever. So this is why I wanted not to scope that discussion already into a specific repository.
Well, there's a good argument for keeping it, at least for now, in IPA downloader, because IPA downloader knows what it is downloading. It can have some assumptions on where these images are coming from. Versus ironic image, it can deal with our OpenShift stuff, for example, which doesn't look any similar to what is here. So I think at least IPA downloader is a good start.
Yep, same.
I'll probably make a PRI into IPA downloader with the unadapted version of this because we also have some adjustments to for the way we build our image, but this can be easily extracted.
Okay, thanks. Okay, that will be a very good addition. Anyone else questions for this topic? Nope. Okay, then let's quickly check this OVS scanner, and I would suggest we don't go into the VBM CTR this time. Maybe next week, if we have time. Then is it okay, Adil?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. Then the last one is from Tumo. This OSV scanner.
Yeah, can you open the pipeline? So, as you know, we have been working on getting the OSV scanner in the repos, and we had it working, but it has several issues. Like, for example, any failure notification only comes to like our EST Slack, and it's not a community Slack or anything. And lately, we've also found out issues that while it did the code analysis and it decided that some vulnerability is uncoded, so we are not vulnerable, but whenever it creates the Sarif file out of just finding, it doesn't have any markers that actually tell us that it's not cold actually. So our spam or this Slack bot key kept us spamming for things that do not actually exist. And then it had one major shortcoming, which is it doesn't actually scan branches and much less tags. So of course, if it only scans main, what is it? Does it actually tell us? Nothing. So in this new view, you can see it scans all the branches, the first longer column, which are of course green because we have bots keeping the dependencies up. But then it also scans the tags, which means that we have basically made some patches into the branch, but we haven't yet released it. So in this case, no. I think the ERSO one is actually real, and the other one is actually just some Go mod funkiness, which OSV scanner couldn't handle. So that's not a real thing, but yeah, so we made this kind of improvement, and these are of course only the key for repos, and we will add it for more of our repos going forward. Of course, when we go from Go to, let's say, Python in ironic image, then of course the result will be much uglier because, well, you all know how nasty the ironic requirement list is and how difficult it is in the upstream ironic to keep them up to date. But anyways, at least we get some visibility with this new pipeline. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. This looks very nice. I was checking it out a little bit.
yeah, and all kudos to Adil for implementing this. I'm not going to steal the credit for this.
Thank you, Adil. Nice job. Okay. I guess this was the last discussion topic. If we skip this one, I will put it somewhere to not forget it into the template. And then I will do the triaging myself. I anyway started looking into what needs to be triaged, so I will handle now and then ping relevant folks if I run into something that I can decide. So thank you for joining. Sorry it took 15 minutes longer, but I think we had very good discussions and learned a lot today. At least I did. So thank you all, and let's meet next week, same time. And until then, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you for the discussion. Really appreciated it. Bye.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.